They moved on. They found someone new, and from the outside it looks effortless. While you are still carrying the weight of what happened, they appear to have replaced it all within weeks, and that image them smiling with someone else can feel like the final confirmation that you never mattered. But what you are seeing is not what is actually happening. The immediate assumption is simple. If they moved on this quickly, they must have felt very little. Speed reads as indifference. A new relationship reads as closure. That interpretation feels logical because for most people, moving on requires time, reflection, and emotional processing. We expect grief to slow people down, not speed them up. So when someone appears to skip that entire process, it seems to prove that there was nothing meaningful there to grieve. But avoidant individuals do not follow that sequence. For them, a new connection is often not the result of healing. It is a way of avoiding it entirely. At the core of avoidant behavior is a nervous system that treats emotional discomfort as something to escape, rather than something to sit with. When a meaningful connection ends, it leaves behind an empty space, and that space carries grief, reflection, and vulnerability, exactly the things they are wired to avoid. So instead of facing the emptiness, they fill it quickly, not because they have resolved anything internally, but because the silence of being alone with their own feelings is intolerable. Distance, in this case, simply takes a new form. It is not just stepping away from you, it is stepping away from the discomfort of loss itself, and a new person becomes the fastest available shelter. This is why a rebound is not evidence of how little you meant. It is often evidence of how much the loss threatened to surface. The faster they move, the more they may be running from what they don't want to feel. Replacing someone is not the same as forgetting them. It is a way of keeping the memory at a manageable distance, the same way silence once did. There is something worth understanding about how avoidant individuals experience endings. For most people, the end of a relationship arrives as a single event, followed by a long period of processing. For someone avoidant, the ending arrives in pieces, and each piece is postponed the moment it appears. A wave of sadness gets pushed aside by staying busy. A moment of doubt gets replaced with a distraction. A memory gets interrupted before it fully forms. Nothing is denied outright, but nothing is allowed to complete itself either. And because none of it completes, none of it resolves. What makes this more complicated is that the feelings they are avoiding do not disappear simply because a new person is present. Suppressed emotion does not require solitude to exist. It can continue operating quietly even in the middle of a new relationship. They may laugh, make plans, and appear fully present, while underneath, unresolved questions about you continue to surface in quiet, unguarded moments. A familiar song, a sudden memory while driving, a passing comment that echoes something you once said. These moments do not announce themselves loudly, but they accumulate the same way unspoken feelings always do in an avoidant mind. The new connection does not erase the old emotional imprint. It simply distracts from it for a while, and distraction is not the same as resolution. The nervous system that pushed you away has not changed. It has simply found a new outlet for managing the same old fear. There is also a pattern in what they choose next. Avoidant individuals often gravitate toward connections that feel lighter, less demanding, less emotionally deep. On the surface, this looks like an upgrade. Someone easier, more relaxed, less intense. In reality, it is a retreat into safety. A connection without depth does not activate their fear of engulfment. It does not ask them to be vulnerable. It does not threaten their autonomy. So in the beginning it feels calm, but calm is not the same as fulfilling, and ease is not the same as connection. They didn't find someone better. They found someone easier. And in the early stages, easier feels like relief. There are no difficult conversations, no emotional intensity, no one reaching the parts of them they keep carefully guarded. But the same push-pull pattern that defined their behavior with you does not disappear just because the person changed. As this new connection naturally deepens over time, even slightly, the same internal alarm will eventually activate, distance will return, withdrawal will repeat, because the pattern was never about you specifically. It was about what closeness represents to them internally. This is one of the hardest things to accept, and also one of the most freeing. What happened between you was not a verdict on your worth or your compatibility. It was the predictable outcome of an internal system that treats intimacy as a threat. If it had not been you, it would have been someone else at the same emotional depth, at the same point in the connection. The trigger was never the person. It was the closeness itself. Because what you offered was not shallow. You brought emotional presence. You understood their silences without needing explanations. You stayed when things got real, even when it was difficult. That kind of depth is not common, and it cannot simply be transferred to a new person like a saved setting. The depth you offered cannot be downloaded into a new connection. It has to be built slowly through exactly the vulnerability they keep avoiding, the same vulnerability that made things feel intense with you. So as weeks turn into months, a quiet comparison begins. It is rarely conscious at first, but every shallow interaction is measured somewhere beneath awareness against the depth they once had with you. Conversations that don't go anywhere meaningful. Connection that stays politely on the surface. Support that feels thin during moments that actually matter. And slowly, the contrast starts to speak louder than the relief once did. At first, they will explain it away. They will tell themselves the new connection is simply different, that this is what stability feels like, that the intensity they once had was the problem rather than the point. And for a while, that explanation holds, but explanations built to protect a decision tend to weaken over time, especially when lived experience keeps contradicting them. The mind can rationalize a choice. It has a much harder time rationalizing a feeling that keeps returning. This is the part they never anticipate. They expected the new connection to erase the old one. Instead, it often highlights it. The absence of what you gave becomes more noticeable, precisely because they are now surrounded by its opposite. What they ran from begins to look, in hindsight, like something rare, something they did not fully appreciate, until it was replaced by something thinner. But here is what matters most for you. None of this is yours to monitor. Their new relationship is not a verdict on your worth. Their speed is not a measure of your value. And waiting to see whether the rebound eventually fails is just another way of keeping your eyes on their life instead of your own. That kind of waiting quietly keeps you anchored to them, even while pretending to have moved forward. It is worth being honest about how tempting that waiting can be. There is a version of healing that is really just surveillance checking, wondering, measuring your progress against theirs. It feels like closure, but it functions like attachment. Real distance is not knowing what they are doing and no longer needing to know. That shift does not happen all at once. It happens in small moments, where you notice the impulse to check and simply let it pass. Because while they are filling silence with distraction, you are doing something they are actively avoiding. You are feeling the loss fully. You are processing it instead of postponing it. You are growing through discomfort instead of escaping it. And that growth is building something they cannot give themselves right now. The capacity for real connection, the kind that requires staying present. Instead of running the moment things become meaningful, you weren't replaceable, you were rare. Your depth, your consistency, your willingness to be emotionally present. These are not things that simply get upgraded in someone else. They get missed. And the fact that someone chose something easier afterward does not lower your value. It simply reveals the limits of what they were capable of holding at that time. There is a quiet strength in being the person who stayed open, even when it cost you something. It would have been easier to close yourself off, to give less, to protect yourself the way they did. You didn't. And while that made the loss heavier, it also means you already possess the very thing they are still avoiding. You do not have to learn how to be present. You already know how. That capacity is not damaged by what happened. If anything, it is clearer now, because you have seen what its absence looks like. So if they have moved on to someone new, let that not become the thing that defines your healing. Their choice of something lighter says everything about their limits and nothing about your worth. You do not need to compete with a rebound. You do not need to wait for it to collapse. And you do not need confirmation that you mattered. You only need to keep building the life and the self-worth that no one else's timeline can touch. They didn't replace you. They reached for something they could manage. Because what you offered asked them to grow in ways they weren't ready for. And that was never your failure to carry it was simply the limit of what they could hold. While you continue becoming someone capable of holding so much more,